So Apple releases Apple Intelligence. Do you think that it will have an impact on the stock?
And the voice of Kodak Black, hope so. I don't know if it will, but I hope so. We'll talk about the production of the Vision Pro being reduced. But I do think they need a big technological win, and because the phones and the Vision Pro has not done it, I definitely hope Apple Intelligence will provide that. So I'll play around with it for the next 48 hours, 72 hours, and I'll report back next week what I like. But if I had to be a betting man as of now, I will say it won't move the needle on the stock for like the next 6 months, probably.
Apple.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Let's tell the truth.
It's an interesting time. Shout out to my man Dan Ives. I always like listening to Dan Ives. He's an Apple bull case guy. And if you look at the reports, obviously this is a big week. We can't overlook that. This is a big week for earnings. Tesla, we saw happen last week. We got Microsoft, we got Apple, we got Amazon, we got Google, we got AMD. All of them are reporting either tomorrow or before the end of the week. So it's a big week. All the signs, and we talked about the importance of the iPhone itself. We got Verizon reporting saying lackluster sales for it. T-Mobile, lackluster sales.
For the phone?
For the phone.
Told you.
AT&T, lackluster. That doesn't point to something great. So here's the interesting part, though. When you talk about we saw how much it was weighted on the stock. You got 1.5 billion iPhones in circulation. About 300 million of those phones are in the upgrade window. So when they say upgrade window, some of these plans have the buy one, get this new one next year, or you've had the phone for 2 years and now you're going to upgrade. The last time that this happened, I think last quarter or 2 quarters ago, maybe year to date, they had about 130 million in the upgrade window. So that's doubled, right? So you can see that there might be some revenue space inside there. The interesting part is that, and we kind of mentioned it, was like they're going to put you in a situation where if you want the newest technology, you have to get the newest phone. And so they announced Apple Intelligence, but it only works if you have an iPhone 15 or 16.
Yep.
So if you don't have that, like I think I have a 14, you got like a 13? Right. So if you want to use the Apple Intelligence, it's not going to work. So in a sense, you're almost now forced to upgrade. I know they're not going to do the announcement of a new phone every year, but that puts people in the pocket. And I know, a lot of times with the brand loyalty, people don't want to be left behind in technology. And so that puts you in an interesting proposition. But when I was listening to Ives, he said something very important. Yes, the iPhone sales are important, but the service business is important too.
Yeah, I've always said that.
Right? We're talking about billions, 28 billion, 30 billion. You start to see that in the quarters, but Apple Intelligence opens the doorway for more apps to now be built with Apple Intelligence. And so you start to look at the services side, and now you might be talking about hundreds, if not tens of thousands new apps in the next 2 to 3 quarters, 4 quarters. That are going to be using that intelligence. So now the service business also has higher revenues. So I'm kind of like in between here. I think that I don't know if it's a lackluster quarter. I think the future guidance of some of these things where there's revenue pockets, I think they have a good quarter. I think they have a good quarter. They stopped doing the future guidance, so we're not going to even have to look to that, but I think people are going to be surprised. I'll be honest.
Mike, can you keep it side by side, please? I'm going to do the Woody. I'm going to be the truth teller. Apple in its history.
No, side by side, Mike. Thanks.
Has never talked about upgrade windows for anybody who bought any of their fucking tech ever since I followed them since 2003. Never. My grandmother had an Apple too. This was never. They sound like IBM now. Since I first did my first interview with you guys, Apple was the main company that I talked about in portfolio construction, right? Outside of indexes. I don't know what this company is anymore. I really don't. Too many missteps. The report in the future guidance, I remember we had the conversation when that first happened. I'm like, why? Only time you want to hide the numbers is when the numbers are not good. I still love Apple, but when I love something, I want it to improve. For the first time in my adult life, people don't care about upgrading to the phone at all. So I know there's a lot of money made in the services business, of course.
Yep.
But that's driven off of this hardware. first. So if this don't improve, like you can only put 22s on a Pontiac Firebird from 96 for so long until you're like, fuck it, I want the Bentley. I want something that looks a lot better with better. I hate to keep laboring this point because I love Apple dearly.
Yeah.
But they're doing a horrible fucking job. Like when they start talking about production and upgrade number cycles, opposed to what they're going to do to improve the product, not good. Will they have a good quarter? Yes. It won't be because of the software. Definitely won't be because of the phone. I told everybody from the beginning, and I hate to even have to take this stance, that competition between Zuckerberg and Tim Cook. Zuckerberg put him in a trick bag, and you thought that you was just going to be able to out innovate and copy their model, and he put that fucking rear naked chokehold on you as a CEO and made you tap out. And nobody want that fucking Vision Pro or this same re-rocked ass phone. For everyone who's been saying they've done this forever, no. They found Steve Jobs' rhyme book.
So where's the growth come from? Right? If it's not going to be the phone, if it's not going to be service, I know they
have to focus on improvement of the phone and healthcare.
Okay, because they announced the M4 chip, which is priced at $1,300. Maybe this isn't obviously you're talking about just revenue sources.
Yeah,
they talked about the new MacBook, which is an upgrade. The sales from that has gone up 3%.
AirPod Pro is still solid. That's right. Dr. Dre's work, right? But my thing is the main thing has to be the main thing. No matter what I go do, and some of y'all get mad at me doing other shows and interviews and shit, I'm never going to leave getting the prices right. This is a case of them not, and this happened before when Scully took over. And then Steve Jobs isn't here to come and resurrect the company. But I think they need some of those old people there, like Ive and some of the old guard, to tell them. And there's too much circle jerking going on at HQ and Apple, to be honest. I said Tim Cook's an amazing CEO, but no one's giving much pushback on these products or releases because they want to stay inside the empire forever, which I understand. But it's not a good sign. Like right now, if you have to pick between Apple and TSM, who are you picking?
Well, you know what I'm picking. Apple
and NVIDIA.
I did a whole dissertation on these.
And we got to 5 companies before you pick Apple, right?
I still like Apple. I still take it.
I do too.
Take it. In fact, he actually went as far to say is the race to 4 trillion, they'll be the first ones there. I'm not going that far, but he did say that. And I'm like, oh, well, how? So now I got to research the how, and that'll be a whole dissertation in itself. But you're talking about a company when we're talking. Obviously, we know what the product it does to itself. We didn't even talk about the Vision Pro, which they're now cutting production on. Yeah. In the iteration that it is now, I still think they'll have a device. But we'll see, man. I think the quarter we know from a quarterly basis going into the winter months or the fourth quarter of the year. This is usually when you start to see an uptick in Apple. We'll see. Thursday is going to be interesting, man.
Quarter would be good.
It's gonna, yeah, we'll start seeing
about the long-term prospects. You guys stop worrying about earnings.
Don't worry about them, but you should, if you're into that, definitely read them because there's tea leaves inside there.
Yeah, you look for the numbers, not what the stock does.
Yeah, you're not basing like, hey, I'm going to invest now because they have earnings Thursday. No, we're not saying that. But part of your research is to see what the company's providing, where they're lacking, and then making decisions.
Listen, Rashad, let's do the eye test. Put in chat if you want the new Apple iPhone, yes or no.
Put in chat, yes or no. See or no.